The May 7th, 2024 special meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors is hereby called to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Director Atkins.
Present.
Director Revelinsky.
Present.
Thank you. Now for the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, were there any changes to the agenda since it was published?
No, Madam Chair, there were no changes on this agenda.
Then we'll move on by general consent to section 4.0. Mr. Meisner.
Good evening, President Mitchell, directors, and Dr. Saltzman. I am very excited to begin tonight's board study session. We have some incredible content for you prepared tonight. We have, this first click always does this. Hang with me. There we go. We have 2 strategic plan initiative updates for you tonight. Each session has been planned around 30 minutes. It will include some question and discussion in the middle, and of course at the end to get your engagement. So a little bit about our initiatives to get started. First up, we will have our initiative that is most focused on safety. That initiative reads to define, align, implement, and monitor clear expectations and standards for safety. This initiative, while new, it's in its first year, continues our ongoing and systematic work to ensure safety for students, families, and staff in Everett Public Schools. One of the key outcomes that you'll learn about tonight is how the team has created a systematic framework to describe safety in a comprehensive way. So you'll get to hear about that in a deep way. One of the advantages and goals of that framework is to strengthen our collaboration as a system so that we're more organized and targeted. So we will look forward to that content tonight and to, again, emphasize while this initiative is new, our focus on safety isn't, but you'll hear our next steps towards that work. The safety initiative is nested inside our consistency and accountability strategic theme, and the initiative owner is Dave Peters, and he will be our presenter for that content tonight. Our second initiative continues our work on human capital. This initiative is to cultivate a culture of excellence that includes career pathways and continuous growth for each employment group. We have career pathways for students. This is career pathways for our employee groups. Our strategic plan really relies upon human capital as a key driver for effective teaching and learning, and as a strong driver, human capital is a strong driver for our priority student outcomes. Not every strategic plan does that. I want to thank Dr. Saltzman for that vision that human capital is, in fact, a key driver for high-quality teaching, learning, and leadership, ultimately working together to impact our student achievement. I'm excited for you to hear about how our human capital efforts have built upon previous initiatives. You're going to hear from Mary O'Brien, who is the team owner, about ways that we are creating partnerships, ways that we are working internally differently, so that we're not dependent upon what higher education provides for us when it comes to our most important resource, which is our staff. But rather than dependency, we are moving towards more district-driven approaches to make sure that we continue to prepare, grow, and cultivate the employees that we don't yet have that we need, and in many cases, find ways to grow the employees we already do have, which leads to their effectiveness and retention. So very excited. This initiative, of course, lives inside the human capital strategic theme. It is in its first year, but it builds upon prior human capital initiatives that you've heard about before. We will follow our similar routine, which really emphasizes our engagement with the board. You'll hear about the big ideas, how we are engaging stakeholders, milestones and timelines, celebrations and examples of recent work, how we're looking at our performance and progress monitoring, next steps, and then of course time for questions and discussions. With that, I will welcome Dave Peters to kick off the update for safety. Thank you, Dave Peters.
All right. Well, thank you and good evening, President Mitchell, directors, and Dr. Saltzman. I'm looking forward to sharing with you about our new strategic initiative that guides us on defining, aligning, implementing, and monitoring clear expectations and standards for safety. This falls under Objective 3, which lives within Strategic Theme D. I'm the initiative owner, and Dr. Peter Scott is the executive sponsor. And we were fortunate in assembling a diverse development team who also regularly manage considerations of safety from the Department of Safety and Security, Health Services, Facilities and Planning, Learning and Information Technology Services, and Student Support Services. With a school district our size and with a variety of safety considerations across all of our schools and within every department, we recognized early on in our work as an initiative team that in order to develop a comprehensive framework around safety that was meaningful, it was also going to need to be logical and useful. So to help you support your understanding in this initiative safety framework, we'd like to have you engage in a brief activity as we start. So each of you will assume the perspective of one of the following stakeholders: a student, teacher, support staff, parent, or community member. You choose which one you'd like to role play for yourself. And imagine that this person were to genuinely be able to say, "I love this school." And we all have aspirations for all of our stakeholders to be able to say this, especially our students, of course. So if this person were to truthfully make this statement, what would you expect to be behind a statement like that? And what factors might need to exist for them to be able to say it and mean it, right? So your task will be to consider this from the specific lens of safety, and we'll ask that you identify 2 to 3 characteristics of the school for this statement to be true for that stakeholder that you choose to role play. So, okay, so we'll have 2 to 3 minutes for this, and then we will have you briefly share your thoughts. So if there's a way we could have each of those represented, if you could all choose a different one so that we could have each of those. Is there a way that you can decide among yourselves there?
I'll do student.
I was thinking support staff.
What does that mean for us?
Teacher and
community member?
I'll be community member, that seems
All right,
easier.
teacher, wow, I got the
Okay.
hard one.
I don't know, I think they're all equally hard.
All right. So from the specific lens of safety, would you like to share some characteristics that you think from that, name the stakeholder that you're representing, and what would be, just that you imagine, some of those characteristics of the school where that stakeholder be able to truly say, I love this school?
Caroline, would you like to start? Sure. We'll just go around.
So I chose parent, and my three were my kids have good friends and feel safe from bullying, unkind behavior, all that bad stuff kids do to each other. The school is secure during the daytime when students are there, and the staff knows what to do in emergency, whether it's natural disaster or student crisis or whatever that may be.
My perspective was from the student, and three things that I came up with is, number one, the feeling that adults genuinely do care about me as a student. Number two, the knowing that rules are followed, there are consequences, there's a system in place, and so feeling that there are rules established and those are followed and followed through by administrators and teachers. And then number three, the safety around ability to express myself as a student and feeling comfortable taking risks. Yeah.
And so I did support staff, and I went specifically para. I don't know if I was right or if that's part of that, but just that I would work as part of a team when supervising students where we have each other's backs so that, nothing could go wrong. Have the skills necessary. At first I wrote de-escalate, but then I thought, no, to not escalate and also to de-escalate any situation. And then how to have sort of a communication, I don't think that's the right word, but a plan with the family to have shared behavior goals.
So I picked community member. I'm just assuming that this is unrelated to the school's community member. They're not a parent, and they're just some random person in the community. I would assume that they would care about schools that are clean and well-maintained, especially on the exterior of the school. Dilapidated buildings don't inspire a sense of safety. In addition, schools that are well-designed in a safe but welcoming manner. The crime prevention through environmental design aspect, I think, is really important, having built spaces that, again, feel welcoming but also help deter crime. And then if you were a community member just going by a school, seeing that it's busy, lots of students, lots of people around the school, like if you drive by Everett High in the middle of the day, you'll see tons of kids out there, but at the same time, busy but not chaotic. Since I think if you're driving by a school and it seems like chaos, then you obviously don't think of that as a safe school.
Okay, I think the first thing that a teacher would, the characteristics they would need to say, I love this school, I think the first is no recent incidents, good history of a safe school. I would think that teachers would take a lot from the attitude of their students. I think that they would really want to be with students that wanted to be there and worked well together and liked learning. That would make me feel safe. And then I think the other one is that, they feel like their principal and their AP are supporting a safe school. Not to reiterate, but, the building is nice, and it feels like a place I want to be.
Well, that's great. Well, as we appreciate that, as we take a look at our framework, I heard elements of every component of our framework. So as we go through this, just pay attention for those that you've chosen or that you've anticipated, and just ensure for yourselves that those are part of our framework that we've developed, and we can touch on those. So taking something that could otherwise be quite overwhelming, topic of safety in a large school district like we have, and making it simple and applicable was really to all areas. That was really our goal. So within the framework developed by the initiative team, we look at how unsafe situations can be prevented, but also why they occur. So for example, aspects like key card badges, vestibules, security personnel, and surveillance are in place to prevent or discourage the how of something unthinkable. But it's also critical that we try to prevent why someone might want to do something like that, right? So creating a welcoming environment and authentic sense of belonging for all of our stakeholders with relationships at the center, to have our students and stakeholders be able to say, I love this school. We saw from our activity what would be behind a statement like that. Trust and caring, a community that has your back, likely a place that feels safe to spend your entire day. And people feel safer when they have some sense of control. So the realization for someone to say, okay, I may not have a lot of influence over legislative state funding for my school, but I can be kind. I can look for opportunities to find a student who looks like they're alone and befriend them or encourage them, to ensure that a struggling student is connected to beneficial resources. So it's both the how and the why in the areas of physical, emotional, and health-related safety. And although certainly not exhaustive, this list illustrates the breadth of elements of physical safety that live within our schools, our programs, and the departments of our district. So we must put effective measures in place to ensure that our stakeholders are actually safe, but at the individual level, it's important that people also feel safe. So we have a responsibility to do both in order to create and maintain environments conducive to learning and growth. And health safety, particularly with its relationship to student and staff attendance and performance, has an important place of emphasis as well. So these three components, physical, emotional, and health safety, are the foundations of our district framework. Now, in order for these safety expectations and standards to be comprehensive, they need to include these 5 elements. And as you look at each of these in order, consider how important they are to accomplishing the following: promote consistency, understanding, and accountability, reduce confusion and develop collective responsibility, to allow people to respond effectively and quickly in various situations, to create a sense of predictability and a culture of safety as a priority, and to ensure the effectiveness of our safety measures over time. Since safety is a part of every school's and department's work, as we considered actionable items for this initiative, there were literally hundreds of examples to choose from. So we pulled higher off the runway and to think about it from our stakeholders' perspective. And we asked, if our stakeholders are aware that we have a strategic initiative around safety, what might surprise them if it were not included, right? And so the samples of activities that we've listed here represent a variety of areas that are important to our various stakeholders and groups, and span the areas of physical, emotional, and health safety, and often a combination of these. So we believe that it's important at the start of every school year for each school administrative team to have a walkthrough with their head custodian and a member of the maintenance and health services staff to identify things like shut-off valves, roof access, AEDs, chemical storage, and locations of Narcan at the school. And although you've heard about our suicide prevention efforts as part of another initiative, that was more from the SEL aspect, where this is about ensuring our district staff receive annual training as part of Policy 2145 to help staff identify and respond to students at risk of suicide. On April 18th, we implemented a train-the-trainer model with over 70 student support staff to build capacity so that at our October Learning Improvement Day this fall, we will have enough trainers at each school to provide classroom-sized suicide prevention instruction to all teachers, paraeducators, and support staff. Now, it's not always failure of protocols or equipment that can impact safety. The photo on the left shows an example of a fully operational key card door that was kept open by excessive air pressure from inside the building. So it takes being vigilant and attentive to detail to identify and solve often simple but important safety issues. In the center photo, when a classroom door is unlocked, the majority of our teachers in a lockdown situation need to step into the hallway to lock their door with their key. That increases their exposure and it uses valuable time. So a lock set upgrade will be phased in over the next 5 summers to provide a quicker and safer alternative. And the top photo on the right shows Abby Jernberg from the Snohomish County Health Department making a generous delivery of Narcan to Carrie Johnson, our health services supervisor, so that each of our elementary schools and middle schools have at least 1 dose, and so that each of our high schools have multiple doses of this life-saving opioid reversal medication. So this slide illustrates a protocol known as CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. And it focuses on natural surveillance, access control, and territorial reinforcement. In other words, making blind spots visible. It can include shrubs and hedges being trimmed up or apart to increase visibility and eliminate areas for someone with bad intentions to hide. And safety is enhanced when lighting and cameras are coordinated with landscaping so that they're not blocked. And when the location of the main entrance is able to speak for itself. So most people, for example, intuitively assume a main entrance is nearby when they see a flagpole or disabled parking spots. And our transportation department is intentional about their drills and their safety communications. And we've been also encouraged to see increases in our Panorama student social and emotional survey results, knowing that emotional safety is foundational for effective learning conditions, something that our schools have placed a deliberate focus on. So although the scope of the safety lock set upgrade is a significant undertaking, it'll save essential time in emergencies and it will provide other security benefits through an updated key system in each of our buildings. And also because time is one of our more limited resources available for professional learning, we are more and more leveraging opportunities to build capacity at the school level using train-the-trainer models. With regard to engaging others, there isn't a single example of safety in our district that doesn't involve a combination of stakeholders working and communicating together between departments, between schools and central office, as well as leveraging student voice, family connections, and community partnerships. In doing so, we can create a fully inclusive environment that maximizes student engagement and promotes collective safety and success. It goes without saying that safety requires compliance, but effective safety is not the type of compliance that just goes through the motions. It's the type of compliance that actually makes a difference. And so we need to continually monitor our progress through data and feedback to identify potential gaps and then close them. To ensure the effectiveness of our safety measures over time, consistency of communication and understanding by all stakeholders are essential. Each action item has its own benchmark timeline, and we have already made important foundational planning and implementational progress in a number of areas. All right, and we have a little closing activity that might be helpful for you to consolidate your understanding of this new safety framework from this initiative and to make connections with some current efforts. So we want to give you the opportunity to create a 30-second elevator speech that includes an explanation of the elements of the EPS safety framework and the connections to 1 or 2 current examples that you might be familiar with. So after just a couple minutes, we'll invite you to share if you'd like.
think this is good to make sure we're paying attention. Sort of a teach back moment.
Yeah. Got some high achievers. We need some more time, or we?
But somebody did some pre-work, so.
Okay.
Somebody saw this homework.
All right.
Oh, we
Would
could-
anyone
we
like
could
to
start.
share their?
Anyone want to share?
Share
I
their?
mean, I'll tell you where I'm at if you want, but
Sure.
Please.
yeah, I'm a high achiever, so I go real slow. The start of mine is, schools can't really be safe without a holistic approach to safety, and that really covers physical safety, emotional safety, and health safety. Physical safety also transcends the bounds of just the physical environment. Bullying, buses, transportation, emotional safety. People can't be safe unless everyone around them is also safe emotionally. And then finally, health safety, our see, now I'm struggling. So, sorry. That's all I got.
You had your 30 seconds. Too.
Yeah, sorry.
Ha, ha, ha. Sorry. I wasn't counting.
All right, okay.
Charles, do you want to share?
I'll share what I have. I got as far as identifying that, of course, we have 3 different types of safety within school environments: physical, emotional, and health. And I was going to talk about how food service and bullying are 2 examples of issues that we face in schools that cross those multiple boundaries. Like, they're not just in health, they're not just in physical, they're not just in emotional, but they can be all 3 or 1 or 2 of them. And yeah, that's as far as I go.
I sort of kept with your theme of I love this school, but mine is like 5 seconds. If something goes wrong, they're prepared with education, Narcan, and facility upgrades to keep the students and staff safe. There, I did mine in 5 seconds. I could have done longer.
No, actually, I was thinking you all captured it really well. I love the of bringing the 3 elements together, how they do interact. And I think this would be more than a 30-second elevator speech. When I've talked to parents, it's about high school bathrooms. It's about a particular issue that their student has faced. So it would be a lot of back and forth rather than a pitch. But so I'll leave it at that.
Let's see, mine was, our district strategically focuses on all aspects of safety, including physical, emotional, and health safety. This includes a tremendous number of items, and through the input from a variety of stakeholders, we prioritize the most important and relevant needs first.
Great. All right. Well, I think that was a good opportunity for you to think that through, and I think it worked. So it's fantastic. Well, we appreciated your engagement and your participation here on that, and I'd like to say thank you in advance now for your feedback and your questions.
Does anybody have any questions? I guess go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know human capital is next, but I heard a real focus on student safety. So is there also a point of staff safety that I just wasn't hearing or didn't pay attention to?
It wouldn't, from my perspective, or from our perspective, I wouldn't say that. I would say that all of our stakeholders, anybody who's at our schools or in our facilities, are part of that. So, and teachers and like staff and students, obviously they are so interconnected during the school day that it'd be difficult to separate those out, particularly from a physical safety standpoint, right?
Because I was just thinking specifically the suicide prevention, I applaud the efforts for sort of train the trainers, but also staff awareness of what they may need, what the EAP benefits that are available, sort of how they should ask for help too as they're helping their students, seek help if you need it kind of thing. Sorry, thank you.
My thought, I was just going back to our panorama data and the school safety numbers, and I'll be really curious as this is a focus for us. If we do start seeing overall those numbers just start increasing. We've always said that these are at a district level, whereas each school is probably seeing different numbers, and so for the schools themselves to really dig into, do students feel safe? What are the number of incidents, and how can we address that? Is what I think we're going to be really needing to focus on as a district. Yeah, thanks.
So I guess, jumping on that, I'm thinking about the sort of the emotional safety of our students. And when did we first do a comprehensive panorama survey around that with students? Do you remember what year that was?
It would have had to be around 2017.
17.
Think
So we
so,
have
yeah.
pre-pandemic
Yeah.
numbers, and that would be interesting to sort of see those trends. I appreciate that there's lots of green up arrows on the slide, and I pulled just the summary data. I guess, this, I don't know, it's not really relevant to right now, but I'm just throwing it out there as kind of a thought or a wondering. I look at the numbers in our elementary school, or 3 through 5, and they're just incredibly high, and as a benchmark, we're high on pretty much all of them. And then you jump to secondary, and it just, not only do the numbers tank, which I think is probably pretty common throughout the United States, and post-pandemic, but our numbers on some of these, the benchmarks are really low. And my wondering is, where do we go from elementary into secondary where so much of that goodwill gets eroded? And have there been discussions? I'm sure there's been discussions around that, but what are those discussions, and what is the work being done around that? There's just a couple in particular, like the one that always gets me, that when I first saw it, was sense of belonging, and that, we're at 42%, and it's in the 0 to 19th percentile and the benchmark. And to me, that's like a huge one, with our schools. So anyhow, more wondering, it's not really a question.
Yeah. Just one piece on that, that's probably a little better news. It doesn't solve your underlying concern. But because the elementaries do tend to score higher, when they have that compared to schools nationally, in that frame right there, it's the high schools and middle schools are compared to all schools nationally. So that includes elementary.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
as a
Yeah.
as a
So
group,
the
they're
data
going
is
to
not
look at the low.
quite
So when you
the
filter
same.
down and you look at the secondary schools, comparing the apples to apples, then you'll see
Okay,
a little
thank
more
you
of
for that clarification.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd love to, at a later date, I would love to learn more about this environmental design stuff, especially around the design and construction standards. I just find stuff like this around manipulating the built environment to get policy, not solutions, outcomes. I just find that very fascinating, and would love to know more about what we're doing on that.
Thank you, great job.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dave, and to his initiative team, and to the board for that feedback, questions, and discussion. Just to emphasize the value, this is not new work, but creating an updated framework, it's a really powerful tool. It seems simple, and the excellent part of it is that it's simple and it's accessible, but it allows us to go deeper in a common language and common areas in a systematic whole child way, whole staff way, to target strengths, to look at needs, and to be in this place in its first year is an exciting place for this initiative, and we look forward to work ahead in the coming year. So thank you to that team. Okay, Mary O'Brien's going to come on up, and I'm really excited for this update on human capital. I think you heard my energy there, and I'll allow Mary to take it away from here. Thank you, Mary.
Good evening, President Mitchell, directors, and Dr. Saltzman. Thank you for this opportunity thank you for this opportunity for allowing us to be able to share our progress on our initiative. I'm Mary O'Brien, and I am the initiative owner. Dr. Chad Golden is the executive sponsor. of our initiative, which is to cultivate a culture of excellence that includes career pathways and continuous growth for each employee group. Cultivating a culture of excellence means opening opportunities that promote growth, challenge, and change. Creating career mobility within our workforce boosts talent attraction and retention in Everett Public Schools. Investing in our current employees honors the time they have committed, their knowledge of our district, and the talents that they bring to us. This year, we will continue to expand the recruitment and retention work, emphasizing diversity recruitment and supportive inclusion for each employee group, and we will specifically focus on building a diverse workforce that better reflects the demographics of the student population and creating a system where students will see educators that reflect our community represented in each school. And of course, we'll continue to recruit for those hard-to-fill positions. Today, we are going to discuss why human capital is so important, report progress on our milestones, explain how we are engaging with our stakeholders, share our celebrations and examples of recent work, review performance expectations, talk about next steps, and participate in a brief closing activity. For the next 30 seconds, I'd like you to think about this following question, and then we'll share out. How does the strategic plan's focus on human capital contribute to the success of our schools? Would anyone like to start?
You know what? I have a thought. Since we're educating humans, I think it's all about the human capital.
Okay, absolutely. Any others?
It's just funny, thinking about putting it into words, because in my mind, it's so clear that having people in the schools that have all the qualities is really what's going to drive our success in our strategic plan. So it's, in my mind, it's kind of it's a no-brainer as to that need.
You said it much better than I did.
Anybody else?
I need time to think about how to put that in words, but it's everything, right? It's existential to our ability to have successful schools.
Absolutely. Right. Finding, keeping, and supporting great educators presents a challenge to school districts today. Without administrators, teachers, and support staff who bring the combination of skills and passion, nothing else is going to achieve the desired effect you were just talking about. Human resources management plays a crucial role in contributing to the success of schools. Effective human capital management in schools leads to improved quality of education and better student outcomes. Effective human resource management is essential for schools to succeed in providing quality education and fostering the development of students. So very similar to what you were sharing. The frontline recruiting and hiring equity audit work entails examining the hiring process to better understand system-level inequities in the frontline application and interview process. We are restructuring our application to be more accessible for all our applicants. Our next steps include analyzing and revising our interview questions and the process. Our Grow Your Own program creates accessible educator pathways in Everett Public Schools by forming partnerships with institutions of higher education to recruit and prepare Everett Public School classified staff to become teachers. We continue to collaborate with our Grow Your Own college and university partners for recruitment and retention. By partnering in these educational alliances, we are providing career advancement opportunities for the Everett community. Through the Student Intern Academy, we are investing in our Grow Your Own classified staff by providing meaningful professional development that supports growth early and relationship building opportunities for our pre-service teachers. In our Career Pathways program, we offer both the student to paraeducator and the paraeducator to teacher routes. The Recruiting Washington Teachers Bilingual Educators Initiative supports the Introduction to Education class at each of our high schools. At the end of the year, students take the paraeducator assessment. Human Resources visits each classroom to discuss career opportunities, and students who are seniors staying in Everett receive personalized invitations to the classified job fair and application support. Currently, we have one student from our community who was hired and working at Hawthorne and participated in that class, so that's exciting. Finally, we are partnering with the Everett Education Association Justice and Education Task Force to strengthen current practices for the recruitment and retention of certificated staff of color and marginalized communities. To do this work, we engage with college and university partners, the Leaders in Education Advancing Diversity, Equity, and Social Justice Coalition, community partners, our high school CTE Introduction to Education teachers and students, and our Justice and Education Task Force. As we recruit for our Grow Your Own program from our current paraeducator staff, we need to focus on filling paraeducator vacancies. By filling vacancies, we are building future pathways for career advancement. We continue to grow our community partnerships with dedicated employment case managers in our community. New this year is our collaboration work with WorkSource. Human Resources attended Employer of the Day events in July and November. At these events, we provided information and application support. We're starting to now see applicants being hired from this partnership and filling out applications on a monthly basis. Another way we intentionally recruit and hire for vacated positions is through our annual job fair. On August 8th, 2023, we held our second annual classified job fair. We enhanced our 2023 job fair to accommodate the increased volume of applicants attending the event. Enhancements included reorganizing the physical environment to meet the need of everyone who was attending, increasing technology support by opening early for application support. We noticed that our potential employees needed a lot of support with our application, so we opened our doors to be able to provide that before the fair started. We utilized all department directors and regionals as support staff. We offered interpreter services for 5 languages. We provided resources for applicants needing to take the paraeducator assessment. We provided resources for community support, and we invited our community partners from Goodwill and Housing Hope, and Goodwill did attend. Our Grow Your Own program provides opportunities for upward mobility by creating career pathways for all staff. We have several programs and an initiative supporting this work. We were awarded the 2024 through 2026 Alternative Route Grant Cycle, which enables us to continue the work of supporting classified staff in career advancement. Our paraeducators represent our most diverse employee group, and it's a natural place for us to support talented individuals who want to become teachers. Additionally, our Diversifying Pathways Program Coordinator provides outreach year-round services connecting with the Everett community and students for education and career advancement, collaborating with community and university partners, serving on grant committees, overseeing residency programs, organizing job fairs, and creating professional development opportunities for our teacher interns. Our Diversifying Programs Coordinator offers information sessions with our college and university partners for our paraeducators. This example is from our October 18th Virtual Educator Fair. All paraeducators received personal invitations to attend the fair if they were interested in learning how to become a teacher. College and university partners hosted breakout sessions for 45 minutes to share information about their programs. Our Diversifying Pathways Coordinator works relentlessly to notify classified staff of all the different scholarship opportunities that our university partners offer, provides information sessions, and supports them in the application process. This year, staff were awarded $98,000 in scholarship funds. As part of our commitment to growing our own teachers and honoring the efforts of our current employees, we are committed to providing meaningful professional development intended to complement their pre-service teaching and provide interviewing strategies for when they are ready to apply and interview for teaching positions. We collaborate with our beginning educator success team, special education directors, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team to provide relevant professional development. Conducting the Leader Grant work is a coalition of educators from multiple organizations and institutions in Snohomish and King County. The initiative aims to elevate community-driven efforts to increase and sustain diversity in Washington's educator workforce. Our Diversifying Pathways Coordinator and DEI Facilitator meet regularly with 4 neighboring districts, teacher certification programs, and other organizations to create a plan that provides more intentional recruiting and retention practices for diverse staff. We are in the 2nd year of the planning phase for the Leader Grant, and we will be submitting the plan on May 14th and presenting a week later. The team is focusing on the increase and sustain phases for recruitment and retention. If we are awarded the grant, a funding range of $900,000 to $1,050,000 over 6 years will be available to the partners for implementing the plan. This year, we are super excited to be collaborating with Western Washington University to plan and recruit mentors and 17 residents for a 2-year elementary special education residency program. That would begin in the 2024-25 school year. At the completion of this program, residents will have 900 hours of pre-service clinical practice and receive teaching degrees with endorsements in elementary education and special education. Additionally, residents will receive compensation equivalent to the entry level on the para-educator salary schedule in their second year during the internship. That's a paid internship. Coursework will be co-designed by Western and Everett with a focus on culturally responsive teaching. To ensure that our workforce reflects the aspirations of our broader community and student population, it's essential to track and analyze relevant data to measure our progress and identify opportunities for advancement through current and new practices that will bring and keep staff in Everett. The next 2 data tables illustrate the growth trends over the past 3 years. This is indicative of our commitment to continuous enhancement and lays a solid foundation for future advancements. We are celebrating the positive momentum and remain motivated to further progress in the coming years. By regularly assessing and reporting on data, we can hold ourselves accountable to our strategic objective and make informed decisions to further enhance our recruitment and retention efforts. This includes collecting data on demographic representation within our organization, employee engagement and satisfaction, and retention rates among different demographic groups. Ultimately, by focusing on this work, we not only strengthen our organization, but also enrich the experiences of everyone involved and contribute to a more equitable and inclusive community where employees want to work and stay in Everett Public Schools. In March 2023, we launched the online retirement and resignation exit survey. Between March and August 31st, we had 152 responses, 96 from classified staff and 56 from certificated staff. According to our 2023 data, the primary reasons for leaving Everett were retirement, relocation, other, and personal. We're leveraging data from our 2023 and soon-to-be 2024 data exit surveys and are refining the 2024-25 survey to glean even more valuable insights. Grow Your Own internships and residencies in school districts offer a strategic approach to addressing teacher shortages, promoting diversity, and fostering a strong sense of community and continuity within the educational workforce. Our Diversifying Pathways Program Coordinator outreach is essential in this work. The data highlights the last 3 years for consultations, bi-monthly check-ins with alternative pathway pre-service teachers, site visits, and information sessions provided for our employees. Additionally, the data show Grow Your Own statistics for the past 2 years. Out of the 52 pre-service teachers in 2022-23, 13 were hired, 6 staff of color, and we have 34 pre-service teachers this year. Our job fair statistics show a 14% increase in foot traffic, a 38.9% increase in job offers, and a 14.1% increase of signing up to be a substitute. Our next steps include designing exit survey questions that help us identify patterns that are influencing staff to resign and identify what factors are within our control and actionable to improve retention. To continue Western residency planning, begin recruitment of residents and mentors, and prepare for implementation. And we just launched the resident application a couple weeks ago. To continue on the final work plan for our leader grant, submit it, present, and hopefully be awarded in June. To continue examining the frontline application to make it accessible for all applicants. To continue active recruitment with community partners to fill paraeducator vacancies. To continue to create career mobility that can be life-changing for some in our workforce. To continue to place emphasis on diversity recruitment and supportive inclusion for each employee work group. And most important, to improve student learning by continuing to strengthen strategic management of human capital, recruitment, hiring, placement, and retention. So I have a little activity for you. In your role as a board member, when you are interacting with community members, legislators, or others, how would you describe the Everett Grow Your Own program and its purpose? Take a few minutes to think about that. Any volunteers?
I guess I'm most impressed with the para program, because I do know quite a lot of paras that do have degrees, and from that diversity lens, especially if they're immigrant parents, if they were educated in another country, sometimes their exact education doesn't transfer over here. Physicians specifically don't transfer. But if with that, then it's easier, I think, to get that teaching degree, which definitely has that grow your own and brings the diversity back to our staff. And especially if I'm talking to legislators, it is oftentimes with immigration and with other things, there isn't always the money. And so that we're doing some of this through scholarships and other funding sources, if there could be a way for support, especially for a low income para. Not every immigrant is poor, but just that lower income where they are the single bread earner with their para salary having to pay tuition. It would be, what kind of support can the state offer to increase the diversity of our teachers?
Absolutely. Other volunteers?
I would just say, actually, I think this has come up with legislators in the past, and they absolutely understand the concept of grow your own and the importance of that. And part of that is going back to building a culture within the district of the inclusivity, the sense of belonging. And so this is spot on, something that they can relate to and appreciate, because when there are gaps in educators or staff, we're not sitting back waiting. We're actually actively taking part in that recruitment.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, well, I'd like to thank you very much, and if you have any questions for clarification, I'm happy to answer.
When's the next job fair?
Our next job fair is July 31st.
I think we got an email with a bunch of stuff happening this summer today. Was that it, Darlene? I know I scanned it. Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Well, she had her hand up.
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
Quick question on, I appreciate, first of all, good luck with the grant, and we're excited. You also included in there the collaboration with other districts, and I couldn't remember, did you include, are there comparable statistics on retention of staff or other things that you're able to look at other districts and say, are we on par? Does that exist just yet? Because I know this is relatively new in some of the data collection that we're doing.
This is very new, and we are just starting our data collection on retention. So we'll be able to hopefully provide more next year for you.
Excellent.
Okay, ready? Okay, so on page 30, it's the milestones and timeline page. It says revised frontline recruiting and hiring application to make it more accessible for applicants by eliminating the job fit assessment that hindered employability. I think a pessimist could maybe take that the wrong way. Could you explain that a little bit more, please?
Yes, the job fit is an assessment within the frontline application, and it does not lend itself to all of our applicants being able to answer those questions. And it really eliminated a lot of very good candidates from being interviewed because it was very difficult to score high on that assessment for some of our applicants. So by eliminating that, we're now focusing on what they're bringing to Everett Public Schools, their talent, their skills, and we're basing our decisions on that.
So it was like a pre-screener. I had friends that applied to the district, and like no other district has this survey. It is awful. I can't get past it, and I have all these years of experience. Is there anyone you can talk to?
What kind of things
Yeah.
did it have in it that, do you remember, or?
It related more to personalities and the way you might respond to something. So it was really disconnected from the type of candidate that we would look for, and it didn't translate across job types.
So it was sort of like, just she would, friend said, describe a situation, or like, how would you react to a
Yes.
situation? And she's like, but it wasn't wrong what I did. It was because it didn't take context, I think was one of the things.
Yeah.
So
There was good intent to the process, but it didn't fit our needs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a question about sort of the grants that are given. I don't know how to word this correctly. Loan forgiveness is the overarching thing, but I think that some schools, districts, areas, communities, because you teach at a certain place, you can get some loan forgiveness. Do we have any of our schools, or does our district qualify for that? I mean, any of our title schools, if a teacher goes to work there for so many years, their Yale teaching education could get paid down?
That's exactly right. So for example, there are some opportunities for some employees who serve particularly in like the title schools for a certain amount of time where they can qualify.
Because I'm just thinking that's a good enticement for for educated and motivated that would
Right.
rather teach than pay off a loan.
Right.
And so that's a great opportunity. And is that advertised, or is that a known?
It's known, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
To teaching, to
Widely known
graduates and
amongst
applicants?
teachers.
Teachers know that.
Teachers know, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
That's my question. Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Just one final thought, and appreciate the prompt and the question, particularly with the Grow Your Own, moving from this like higher ed dependent model to more district driven and partnership. It does two things. One, it reduces barriers, and that's good. And it can also, and it will also, increase the quality of preparation. I really want to, it's not just about making it more accessible, but think about it when you're going to learn about instruction and you leave here, you leave this environment, and you go somewhere else to learn about it and then figure out the transfer back. In this way, it's happening more at the center, closest to students, closer to experts. And we still leverage the expertise that exists within higher education. It's absolutely integral, but we believe it will also increase the preparation quality. And so it's both of those things are transformational and achievement goals.
It'd also be interesting to see too, the adult who does the grow your own versus the young adult who comes in, what the retention time is because of maybe rose-colored glasses or something. A para knows what this like. They know what it's like.
Right.
They see what it's like to be a teacher. Might be different than my mom was a teacher, or I think I want to be a teacher. So it'd be interesting to see those retention numbers. Now that we're doing some paras, is there a divergence? It'd be interesting, and that we want both people, but it is just sort of interesting. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our next item tonight, which is our sustainability update. So Mr. Gunn, let me get this set up. You do share your screen today. Can you see my screen? Well, not that you moved it. Okay, well, let me stop sharing and share again.
Good evening. Tonight, we're providing you a sustainability update on 4 areas of our commitment to sustainability approved by you last year. We will review the sustainability work ongoing and planned in P12 education decision-making processes, which is equivalent to how we spend money and use resources. And then also partnerships, and then the final one is monitoring and communicating. We will also ask you to share any reflections or observations that you have about this work. I do not have a work item for you tonight. However, I did want to let you know that to remind you that the update on sustainability that we provided to you in January, I talked about, it's really a kind of a 3-stage process. The first one is to develop a strategic level commitment to sustainability, which we did last year. And it's very similar to our strategic initiatives where you develop the strategic plan. Second year is operational level planning, which is this year. And then next year is the implementation, beginning of it. Some of the implementation has already been underway for a while, but you will see a lot more focus in action plans for the departments around sustainability in next year's action plans. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. You will hear a number of next steps in the presentation tonight, and you can make that in your mind equivalent to action plan items for next year. So this slide is just to remind you that we've been through the entire sequence of 4 meetings with the Sustainability Advisory Council, and we've provided an update to you on January 23rd, and the yellow highlighted date is tonight. The commitment to sustainability that you approved last year is on the right, and you'll see 4 paragraphs highlighted in yellow. Those are connected to the 4 topics that we'll be covering on the left side tonight. The operations area, which represents the 2 unhighlighted paragraphs in the middle of the commitment statement on the right, we covered last time we met with you in January. So the first item, the first of 4 topics that we'll cover for you is the P12 education, modeling for and equipping students with the knowledge, skills, behaviors, stewardship, and continued learning about sustainability. This was presented by Dr. Shelley Boughton and Andrea Cartwright to the Sustainability Council. And so I'm going to review that with you tonight. What they talked about, and it's really no surprise, P12 education is our core mission. So that the P12 education program is inundated with connections to sustainability across all grade levels. So it was no surprise, I was not surprised anyway, to hear the presentation that was provided to the council. I think many members of the council were very pleasantly surprised at how much we're already doing in sustainability. So the presentation that was provided had three highlights: embracing and fostering sustainability in our educational program, generating awareness and support for sustainability in our students, and then organizing green team clubs in schools. So I will just cover some of the highlights. I'm certainly not, have not been a teacher in our program, but I have a lot of information to share the highlights of tonight. So we focus on sustainability in our school district because the state of Washington has two sets of adopted standards that call for us to do so. The first one are the K-12 Integrated Environmental and Sustainability Learning Standards, which describe what students are supposed to know and to be able to be environmentally and sustainability literate about. These standards are intended to be integrated into core content across all grade levels. The second area is the Washington State K-12 Science Learning Standards, also known as the Next Generation Science Standards. This slide illustrates some of the topics covered at our elementary school in the science program: air and water, land and water, and ecosystems. So basically, at the elementary school, our students learn the foundational information and skills in environmental science and sustainability. At the middle school level, again, this is a sampling of some of the topics and in some of the classes. So at the middle school level, our students build on their elementary school knowledge and skill and engage in learning experiences to figure out environmental science and sustainability phenomena. At the high school level, it really gets intense around sustainability. And our science courses at the high school have shifted to the next generation science standards, which include integration of earth sciences and some aspects of environmental science and sustainability, and even you'll see the words "and space" science, which is really interesting to me. But it's in the traditional science, biology, physics, and chemistry courses, so integrating sustainability across all those science courses. This slide illustrates that our science and our CTE staff are collaborating to make sure that students have courses that they can select in environmental science, and that they have access to certifications, state and industry certifications, and that those certifications help them get on the path to career opportunities in sustainability in our area. This slide is really getting to, on the left side, it's called Play and Learn. It's a program for birth to preschool students, children in our community and their parents, to be involved with all sorts of activities. So this one is at the Lively Environmental Center, and it is to allow the students to have fun playing, singing, and to be involved in art and to hear stories. And then it's 5 times per week for an hour and a half at 4 different locations across our district. The activity that you're seeing there on the left, there were about 50 families attending that. I talked with Andrea Cartwright yesterday, and she was, that whole day yesterday, I didn't get to her till the afternoon, but she was out at Lively with a Play and Learn group of over 50 children, and their activity was to release fish to the, out at the Lively Environmental Center, the fish tank. And the way Andrea was describing it was really, really cute. She said some of those children, even though they've only had the fish in the little baggies for 10 or 15 minutes, they grow attached to them, and they're sad to release them. And then when they do, they want to go downstream to see their fish as they go on their journey. On the right side is an example of school gardens that we have. This one is at Madison. There, you're seeing I've been to all of our schools, and I've seen quite a few of these. I don't know how many they have, but these are examples of, for students, how they can experience the life cycle of plants and to see how plants can beautify our schools, and they can also learn how to grow them and how they're good to eat. So at the secondary level, there's a real effort to expand our students' access to green teams and then also activities. The one on the left here is Sequoia High School Sustainable Agriculture Club competing in Envirothon, which is a competition held in the US and Canada for grades 9 through 12. It tests knowledge and problem-solving skills focused on our natural environment. Last year, the topic was adapting to a changing climate. This year, the topic is renewable energy for a sustainable future. Sequoia High School competed last year, and Jackson High School competed this year in that competition. On the right, and then on the lower left, is our pictures from the Mount Rainier Institute, which is run by the University of Washington, and it provides students access to environmental science at that location. The graphic on the left is from Gateway Middle School's celebration of Earth Week, and this was put together by the Give Club, Guardians Involved in Volunteering. It's one of their service clubs at Gateway. They planned activities around earthwork in April, and it spreads awareness and action, allows students to get involved in action around sustainability. Then on the right side, Silver Firs Elementary School's Green Team hosted an Earth Day cleanup at Willis Tucker Park on April 22nd. Over 50 participants, and they helped clean up, pick up broken branches that had fallen on the pathways, and they cleaned out blackberry bushes and had a great time, my understanding. I have been informed that we have green teams at 9 of our schools and growing. So I know that the curriculum instruction have been working closely with our maintenance department to actually expand our green teams, and then also to get them more involved in composting at our schools' cafeterias. And our maintenance department, by the way, is planning to expand that. One of their action plans for next year, they're going to be expanding the composting programs to all schools. So decision-making processes, this was one of the second of 4 topics presented at the recent Sustainability Advisory Council meeting. And this, again, has to do with how we spend or use our resources. So an appropriate, achievable, and equitable balance along with other needs in decision-making and management of our fiscal resources in consideration of sustainability implications in purchasing, sourcing, and supply chain. Presented by Andy Tress, our Executive Director of Finance and Business Services. And some of you may remember about 2 years ago at your board's summer workshop in August out at the Washington State University building there in North Everett, I talked about the 3 Ps of the 3 pillars of environmental, of sustainability. And so Andy Tress has done research with an organization called the Sustainable Purchasing Leadership Council, and it's an organization set up to specifically build a better world through the power of procurement. So basically what their whole mission is, this organization, is to work with organizations that purchase a lot of things and help them build more sustainable practices into those purchasing practices. So we're connected to that, and this is kind of a graphic on the right that shows how all of that fits together. Some of the benefits of sustainable decision-making for procurement. are potential cost savings, because I've mentioned that cost savings don't always result from sustainable practices. In an ideal world, they would. Reduction of waste and environmental impact, integration of sustainability into our material supplies and operating costs, positive community engagement, improved health and well-being, and support for local and ethical suppliers. Some of the drawbacks, it's fairly complicated to incorporate sustainable procurement practices into our purchasing. It also takes some staff, so human capital, to do that. It gets you involved in the complexities of supply chain, the environmental or the carbon footprint of a supply chain. How do you analyze that, and how do you set up a way to score one supplier over the other in terms of their sustainable carbon footprint? Also, how do you estimate the costs of sustainability? The costs, there is an impact, but how do you calculate that? I mentioned that a couple of years ago at our workshop also. Also, it takes some upfront investment, and then it's the consumer perception. So the people that are going to be using this process, they have to, it's just kind of a foreign concept, because the typical procurement model is the least costly item is the one that usually is what we procure, if everything else is equal. Well, this has a new item in the equation that says, what about its environmental impact? And how do you evaluate that and acknowledge that in the procurement process? So that's one of the big areas that we will be looking at next year. There are also, as you've heard before, there are some sustainable practices that we're already incorporating into our operational programs especially. These are kind of shown there, but they're from the maintenance and operations area, facilities and planning, food service, transportation, LITs, and our business office. That's kind of the list of the presenters at our first meeting with the council. So these are some of the practices that we already have built into our operations. And then some next steps, and again, action plan items for next year, reviewing RFP language, request for proposal language, to include sustainability as a scoring mechanism. Again, the question is, how do you acknowledge the value of sustainability? Reviewing common consumable purchases for sustainability practices, consider including sustainability requirements in contracts, consider developing and partnering with outside experts like that organization that we've already connected with to develop a sustainability purchasing plan. The partnerships, this was a topic presented by our Dr. Chad Golden. This is topic number 3 of 4 from that recent meeting with the council. Obviously, all around partnerships to developing a culture of collaboration, learning, and partnerships around sustainability within the district as well as across the community with other school districts, agencies, and companies. By the way, when I read that paragraph, just to remind you, it comes straight out of the commitment statement. You approved it, and it was very carefully worded. Each one of those words was talked about last year when this was adopted. So this is obviously around a number of things. One is exploring opportunities for education around sustainability, and these are some of the agencies that Dr. Golden did research on and provide a great list of some of the places, organizations that we should contact next year to build this into our planning. So how to get education around sustainability. The second area is opportunities to improve practices around sustainability. And these are some of the organizations that we contacted, that Dr. Goldman did around practices. And then finally, opportunities for grant funding, various opportunities at the federal, state, and even local level, including the Everett Public Schools Foundation, the Russell Family Foundation, and then certainly, I think you all are aware of the numerous grant opportunities coming from the state of Washington and the federal government that are coming our way. It's really a challenge to sift through those opportunities and see which ones are worth pursuing. And then the final area, monitor and communicate, again, straight out of the commitment statement. This was presented to the Sustainability Advisory Council by Kathy Reeves, our Director of Communications. Involves setting expectations, establishing accountability, monitoring progress, and regularly communicating status. So just to break it down, setting expectations and establishing accountability really has to do with making sure that every department knows what parameters they have to work within and how to best move forward. That was kind of what this year was about, is asking those department leaders to really come forward with their stories, their plans, what they're doing, what they have done, and what they're planning to do. And that certainly all legal and regulatory requirements must be met. This really came up, I think, mostly in regards to the energy codes and the facilities, the obligations we have to comply with the Organics Management Act, as well as the Clean Buildings Act and others. And then you get into monitoring progress. So there are state regulatory dashboards required that we will need to be posting on our website. And then also, one idea was to ask for quarterly stories, or quarterly ask for stories to share. And this gets into the next slide, communication ideas, things we can do to develop cheerleaders and create buy-in for the work. And that question, by the way, was one of those that was raised by the committee work last year, and I think yourselves kind of asked that question of us at your workshop last August, was how can we become cheerleaders for this work? So here are some ideas. Develop an FAQ section on our website, tell our sustainability stories. And by the way, the presentations made to the Sustainability Advisory Council are prime territory for gathering those stories. There's a lot there. Also celebrating and communicating what we've already done and what we're doing, and run a Did You Know social media campaign around sustainability. That concludes my presentation of the 4 topics that were covered in our recent Sustainability Advisory Council presentation, and along the way summarized the work of the year and pointed to some of the work that we'll be doing next year, that you all will be doing next year. I probably won't. And so now we're at the point where questions for clarity, 3 possible prompts you can look at. And one that's really, I think, really gets to you specifically is, what did you learn tonight that will help you in your role as a board member? Open for conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you. I think for me, the one thing that I've learned that has been helpful is having all of this brought under one umbrella to better understand sort of what our programs look like. There's just a lot there. It's kind of like safety. There's just so many places we could start and dig into, and human capital and real capital and all those things play into it. But I do appreciate that you have taken your arms and created this structure that we can at least start to kind of approach and look and understand what we've been doing and what we need to do and prioritize and all that. So that's great. My question really is around equity throughout our schools. So we have the standards, we have the curriculum in place, but then we have all these really fun things happening out there, like gardens and field trips and green teams and sustainability clubs. And as a director, my question really is, how equitable is that throughout all our schools? I think about like going back to the days when we left it up to PTAs to get playground equipment, and the really strong PTAs got, those schools got really nice playground equipment, and some schools didn't get as nice. And I just want to make sure that's not happening with some of our in-school sustainability projects, ideas, things like that.
Thank you. So what I'm going to do is take good notes and make sure that the people putting together the action plans for next year keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
If this is mostly a discussion, I'll actually, along with that point, it relates back to human capital a lot, I think, is that what we see in schools are the capacity to lead green teams, to do a school garden. It takes the passionate people at the schools that can make it happen. But I really appreciate us looking at a board as to how we can foster that in schools that maybe don't currently have it, and fan the flame of, look at this great example, and how could we get that at all of our schools. I'm so excited about where this is going and all the work this year. I just, again,
A lot of it at your instigation, I should say.
Well, truly hats off. I really do, point of pride with other school districts as to all the work that's happened. This is fantastic. Excited about the data dashboard and getting some of that data out. Again, I know that we had a recent update on technology and AI, and I think what it said in there was people that had heard about it were realizing, wow, that's a lot that's happening, and they were,
Yes.
yeah, and it's the same in this area too, I think, is that there is a lot that either is being asked of us from legislation or coming down, and then there's a lot coming up, these efforts at the local level. So I can't wait to show some of that data in numbers. In collaboration and in partnerships, I also just really want to encourage us to look at other school districts and higher institutions of higher education that are also doing this work. At a recent webinar summit where Seattle was presenting their geothermal, and then lo and behold, North Shore was saying, yeah, the North Creek High School is also geothermal. And so there's a lot of interesting maybe lessons learned out there from other school districts, and as much as we can tap into those. And then back to the grant funding. Department of Commerce, I think we have one grant application. I don't think we've necessarily heard back on EV buses, but
Right.
Again, I know that takes a lot of work, but I appreciate when we go for those, even if it doesn't work out this year. I really do think what I've heard from other groups is that it's going to take the grant funding, and it's going to take going for the one-offs, and it won't be throughout the system for a while.
Yeah.
But as much as we can go for those, I think in it's going to pay off. So.
Thank you, and I would just make a comment that the people in this room are pretty much the people that will be setting up those action plans and programs for next year and years in the future. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That was a lot, and it's, I bet, overwhelming, right? You could really boil the ocean. You could approach sustainability right into bankruptcy. And so I would love to hear about how in the future you weigh that on an RFP, right? When you have weights for sustainability and cost and quality, speed, all kinds of things. I'm curious how you weigh that, because, and I'm glad you're thinking about it, because that is a tough one.
It is, and as I mentioned, there's at least one professional organization that is focused squarely at those issues.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very nice.
Welcome. Thanks.
What a privilege. Thank you. First of all, thank you for taking this on, Mr. Gunn. How many more presentations do you have before the end of the year?
I was going to ask.
I remember.
I was going to ask Jared for an old microphone.
Thank you. But I do remember when you announced your retirement, I think you had about 50 people that wanted to take on sustainability. So thank you. Not too many people jumped up.
You had that.
I do want to say this, getting everybody involved, like we have 9 green teams, it will morph itself. When other schools are doing it in regions, across regions, you'll get more teams to do it, and that it should morph itself to get up there. We do continue to work with other districts to find out what they're doing.
We do, yeah.
And what we do find out too, we're doing so much compared to other districts, but a few outliers are out there. Down the street, North Shore, and I know Seattle, a few things, but in our cluster of Western Washington, we're doing a great deal. So that's important, but just do want to say it's like our multicultural nights, if you remember, they start off small, and everybody's doing multicultural nights. So you'll see a lot of great events just sustainability.
And I just want to say that potential jobs, geology, working for a construction company, you can make almost $90,000 a year with a certificate and a bachelor's degree. So just to entice kids a little bit differently. Because, 40 and 50 might not pay the bills here, but, 90 is getting pretty close. But I just want to say, Mike, I was thinking the exact same thing. If this was going to be the last time we were going to see you up here, because you have, in my years on the board, really through strategy, through construction, through our strategic plan, updates, and now moved on to sustainability, really appreciate everything you have led here in the district. So I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been quite a journey. People have asked me, keep asking me, and even more, if I have, am I counting off the days? And I say no. But I did count how many presentations.
Yeah.
You don't have one more?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it is. I saw the phone go up. I think we need to at least fake a drop the mic moment. But with that, this concludes the business scheduled to come before the Board of Directors this evening. Thank you.